root on the paladin.
I'm
Casting big
I'm
heal.
stunned.
Paladin is one-shotted from the roots.
What?
What's up guys, and welcome to my NECROLORD Boomkin guide. It's gonna be short, simple, easy. If we start going over talents, in the first row you always play Nature's Balance, no question about it. Mobility row, I normally always play Wild Charge, maybe into Rogue Mage, sometimes I can play Revival, but the thing is that you're so tanky in general as a NECROLORD Boomy that you don't have to worry about having the added mobility from Wild Charge, which is huge, is more value than Renewal is gonna give you 99% of the time. I always play Guardian Infinity, never play Resto. For the next route we have Bash, Mass Route, and this one is probably one of the ones I swap out the most often. Sometimes you want to use Bash to be able to get a full route into Beam, because your roots are doing so much damage, and sometimes you need Mass Route so you can root Beam and the healer and root the DPS. So basically against non-freedom classes and classes where you need to cover the route, you play Mass Route. You can play around with it, get a feel for it yourself. Always play Starlord, I always play Twin Moons, and I always play Souls Dice. For PvP talents there is a couple of different builds. Either you play the root build, which I have been playing and that I enjoy super much. Roots do absurd damage, no one expects it, it's super fun. Then I basically run this, sometimes I swap out Moonkin Aura for Thorns, etc, especially in 2s. If they don't have a Dispel, or maybe a Celestial Guardian, if I'm gonna be the kill target for whatever reason, but most of the times you just run Moonkin Aura, and you can also use Thorns. And if you play the more normal build, you play normal talents, then you can play like Moonkin Aura, Celestial Guardian and Thorns, or Protect of the Grove, whatever you really need. This is how some high-rated Necroboomies in NA play it, and then they just play it normally, but for the rot damage. Otherwise, stat prio, you have versatility first, then haste, then mastery, and last crit. For legendaries, I run Circle of Life and Death. This scales both with your dots, with your adaptive swarm, and with your entangling roots. So not much more to say about that. Second trinket is Insignia. It's gonna be your best bet. You're almost always gonna play it. It has insane uptime in games, procs all the time, and gives you fat haste. With that said, having a big BM to use a little starting room trick is super good. I'll show you guys a clip of that here. So as you guys can see, the first thing I do when I get into the arena is I swap my Conduit to Ursin Bigger, which will increase my health a lot in bear form, and I swap to BM Trinket. Let's jump forward a little bit here. So what I do then is I go into bear form, I get Ursin Vigor proc, I use my BM, and then I Fleshcraft, which puts me around 81,000 health and gives me a 32 to 33k Fleshcraft shield before the game. This makes you super tanky, and then after you've gotten the buff, you just swap back to your damage conduits and your damage trinket, and without losing any damage, you now start the game with a 32.5k Fleshcraft shield. So in total, I have 75,000 health right now. Good luck to the assassination rogue killing me in the opener. Even with mind games, it's impossible. Following up on that is I would use haste or versatility. Preferably, I think I should use versatility until I'm on 30% and then haste, but I prefer more haste, cleaner, more damage. It's very marginal. And if you have full socket slots, I would recommend playing with a movement speed gem as well, so you turn into Usain Bolt casually. For conduits, we have Plague Advisor Marilev. So in my conduit tree, I basically always run Plague Advisor. I think there is an upside to not doing it though, but first potency, Evolved Swarm, just makes my adaptive swarm boost my dots even more, really nice. This one is amazing, just makes you even tankier. Well-honed instincts is a must-have. Fury of the Skies as my second potency slot, since most of the other ones are garbanzo beans. And then for the last one, I'm running Innate Resolve in the Endurance tree just to make me super tanky. You could swap this one to play Finesse and play Tireless Pursuit for better kiting as well. I would recommend doing that if you're playing Freeze and if you're playing like Warrior, Boomy, Resto Shaman or something along those lines, where you really need the movement speed to create distance for yourself. But playing mostly caster cleaves, I think this is a really good setup, because you're super tanky and you don't really need added mobility. Ultimate form is of course super powerful as well. If you want more damage, both Emeni and Bonesmith is gonna give you more damage. The cool thing with Emeni is every time you press Adaptive Swarm, you get 150 intellect, which is insane amounts. And it's on a 25-second cooldown. So basically you can play Emeni, you Adaptive Swarm, and you dump your Star Surges to do really big damage. Or you play Bonesmith, which is basically baseline, just gives you 3% more int, and 3% more armor, so more damage. You could reconsider playing these two if you're playing like Warlock Boomkin, Resto Shaman, or Owl Play Shadow Priest Boomy, because they will always focus your Shadow Priest and Warlock. So I don't think you necessarily need the tankiness from here, but even in those matchups I like playing with this because of ultimate forms you become immune to CC. So while we're watching some footage here in the background, I want to talk a little bit about the rotation, some basic spells, and around how you play Necroboomy. So a couple of priorities: you want to make sure you have dot uptime very high. You want to have dots on as many people as possible, and you also want to make sure that you're dumping your Star Surges, as always, preferably in Eclipse. It's not the biggest deal. It's not as big of a deal as it is for Kyrian Boomies and Night Fae Boomies that normally run a bit more mastery to dump your Star Surges in Eclipse, but it still is a nice damage increase, so I would try to do that. Another very important thing that a lot of people don't really look at is Solstice. So Solstice, your final talent, makes it so every time you go into Eclipse, you have 300% more often that shooting stars will drop. And for you guys that don't know what shooting star is, there's a chance on the targets you have Sunfire and Moonfire on that there falls some stars from the sky and they do some damage. It's just some random extra AoE. But they proc a lot and they do a lot of damage. In the end of games, most of the times, shooting stars is more damage than Star Surge. So that should give you guys an indicator on how big it is. As we can see here on the video, I did a normal root setup where I root beam the healer and I root the monk when I know he doesn't have freedom, which creates super big pressure for us, and we get the paladin's trinket sack. So let's talk a little bit more about that, how you set up your roots go. So what Prickling Thorns and Deep Roots does is that your roots will no longer break on damage. They will, but after quite a big threshold. I think it's 20,000 on entangling roots before they break, which is quite absurd. And Prickling Thorns also does really big damage, but the parts where it does insane damage is when you have Adaptive Swarm up. So what you preferably want to do is Adaptive Swarm and then root, and then they sit in a full root. But a lot of the time that's going to be really hard to set up without there being a freedom or a dispel or anything like that. So what I normally do to play around that is I cast a root, and then I Adaptive Swarm after the root. Most times they will dispel the first root before your Adaptive Swarm actually travels to the target, because it has quite a bit of travel time. So when the Adaptive Swarm lands, it won't be dispelled, and then I can just re-root and do a 4-second root into a 2-second root without... And still gaining the benefit without having to worry about covering healer and doing too much setups. But in the end, roots with Adaptive Swarm is what will give you the insane damage. And overall, keep up your dots, make sure you're utilizing your class, utilize clones, it's the same for every spec. clone low, clone to peel, rotate clones. It's not really on the NECROLORD boomkin side of things. So overall, keep all of that in mind and just be active. Always move, always cast something. I think that is the secret. After playing a couple of weeks of Necroboom here, I was holding my spells and I was holding my Star Surges and stuff, being used to that setup burst playstyle, but I think just chugging it out here and doing maximum DPS, 99 parses all around in arena is what you're looking for with Necroboomy. I also want to touch on, because I get quite frequently asked on the stream, mass entanglement. So your mass root does do damage, but it does like 25% of the damage of an actually hard casted normal root. So I would highly recommend that if your intention is to do damage to someone, you should use your normal hard casted root DRs instead of mass root, because that is where the big damage is. Mass root also breaks on damage much earlier than the normal root does. And don't be afraid to throw out roots that are DR'd, even though they have dispels and stuff, because all of this does is just forces people to use a global on dispel, and I can't tell you how tilted some of these melees get when they're just getting spam rooted the entire game. It's absolutely crazy, and it's very, very satisfying. An extra little pro tip is this is great against BM hunters. BM hunters that are plaguing the meta in 2s right now. Just sneak in, drag the pet behind a pillar, and then sneak in a root adaptive swarm with full dots. It will do approximately 30k damage. So if you just root the pet, adaptive swarm it behind the wall, and they do nothing, the pet will die, which is insane. So it's very, very satisfying to kill BM hunters' pets with this. It's my guilty pleasure. Now let's touch briefly on openers. This is my standard opener. Stealth in, get a double incap roar. Then root, beam into adaptive swarm, sunfire, moonfire. And then preferably a reroot into a stun. And that's my opener and how I create pressure from the start. And as you can see here, we got the pre super low. We got this GA, unfortunately we didn't proc it, but it's a solid opener against most classes. And that is the conclusion of the guide. I hope there was some good information in there that you guys could understand and pick up and incorporate into your own game. If you have any further questions on anything, maybe how to set up kills, or I don't know what else I could include in the guide. So if you guys have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And if you have any further questions about anything that I can help you with, you can catch me on twitch.tv/CQITV, or you can catch me on Discord. A link will be in the description. We have a lot of Boomkin brothers in there sharing their knowledge, tips and tricks. So make sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for all the positive support, and thank you to all the convocators for all the angry messages. It really puts a smile on my face to read them. Have an amazing day, and until next time.